You are listening to Fantha tracks.
He's waiting.
Classic Star Wars and the collectibles they gave us. From vintage Star Wars to the modern era of the saga. This is Collecting Tracks. Here are your hosts, Richard Hutchinson and Andy Preston.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Collecting Tracks. I'm Richard Hutchinson.
And I'm Andy Preston.
And we're your hosts for episode 18, Halloween Star Wars Style. So Andy, it's been quite a while since the last show. What have you been up to? I'm sure you've been busy as ever.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, hasn't it? And we're into autumn now. That's the subject of our podcast, one of the autumn highlights. Don't like autumn in the sense that everything gets a bit dark and a bit wet and a bit dismal. But on the other hand, you've got so many fantastic events happening. And been busy. So started off with our local carnival in Somerset here. We don't just have the usual, farmer's cart with a 5-minute job put together on top of it. These are illuminated carnivals around here. Floats that are worked on all year. And they are just amazing. Things going up and down and spinning round and people dancing and all sorts on there. Absolutely wonderful. And all illuminated, hundreds and hundreds of light bulbs on each cart. To put it into perspective, we went to Disneyland a few years back now. Went to the Mickey Mouse's illuminated parade or something. And we watched this go past and we all looked at each other. We said, it's not as good as Somerset, is it? So that was the first one. I then went with my lad, who's mad on steam trains. We went to the West Somerset Railway's Autumn Steam Gala. Very wet, but lots of fun, lots of trains and lots of steam and lots going on there. We then had Halloween. And again, my town really pushes the boat out for Halloween. They close the main street. They get all the shops open. Everybody's out dressed up. Everybody's having a good time. My daughter in her local dance group, they were doing a performance in the street. So that was really good. Bonfire night, went to the local rugby club where they had a good fireworks display. And then just last night, actually, went down to one of the local villages, Tapworth, where, again, they have a really big, fantastic display. Put the drone up, got some lovely footage and some lovely pictures on high of the fireworks. And the other thing that I have done since we last spoke, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, I have opened an Etsy shop for my action figure photography. So if anybody's interested, have a look on Etsy for the seller R2 Photo, and you'll see what I've got to offer. What about yourself, Rich? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been to a steam railway today, actually, as it happens. Obviously, where I am, we are the birthplace of the railways. Darlington, Shildon in particular, George Stephenson, all that kind of stuff. It's all in the northeast. That's where it all happened. I was at the Weardale Railway today, and we were contemplating going on a around the Weardale area tour on the train. But for £80, that's how much a ticket was, and you got a free tea and biscuit. And we thought for £80, we'd probably want a little bit more than a cup of tea, which I don't drink, and a biscuit seemed a bit steep for me.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to pay for a day out, isn't it? But I know it costs a lot to keep these engines running, but could do better maybe.
Yeah, so I went to the Christmas market, which was utterly pants. Terrible was the word for it. There was about 5 tables with some handmade things. So we just made a donation to the children who made an effort to make these bits of tap that nobody would ever want. And left after about 10 minutes.
Too early we're thinking about Christmas though, Rich. Not until December.
Oh, good God. I was walking around the shops today and they were playing jingle bells and all sorts of things.
Oh, dear. No, turn it off. Oh, dear.
Well, I've just got back from Iceland. So I had 4 or 5 days away with the school, which was brilliant. And I have to say, I've been to Fantha, I've been to Hoth, I've been to Tatooine, I've been to Tunisia. But both of those places, full and fine well that you're in. You're on Earth, you're in a country, there's people about, there's locations and things. But Iceland is a different level completely. There are places where you are standing where you think, I could be on Europa right now. It's just such a wonderful place. And you see all these chasms and geysers and, the threat of the volcano erupting. And we flew back on a Thursday. And on the Wednesday, because of the heavy snowfall, which wasn't predicted, the flights on the Wednesday were cancelled. So the Thursday flights were very, very busy. But then on the Saturday, the volcano erupted, which had been threatening to have erupted over the last 2 weeks now. That erupted on the Saturday, so we were safely back in the UK, and the volcano erupted and grounded flights again. I would love to see a volcano erupt, but even seeing all of the magma, the cooled, you go to beaches and the beaches are black. It's black sand on the beaches. It was brilliant. It was so unreal. All the colours are the one way round. A wonderful place to go. I would certainly recommend if anybody want to go to Iceland. You were going about the October time, maybe early November, because I think beyond that it's going to get quite cold. But it certainly wasn't cold, and we saw the Northern Lights as well. So I didn't get any brilliant photos at first, but as we trudged back to the hotel rooms, I could see a couple of kids were quite disappointed. And then we looked out the window and we thought, oh, they've started again. And then we saw an area that was lovely and dark. So I took a couple of the kids back out again. We went round the back and got some wonderful photos of the Northern Lights. So brilliant time in Iceland. I would definitely recommend it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I saw your photos on Facebook. It looks, it just looks amazing. Like you say, like another planet. Some dodgy geezers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And also a Star Wars filming location, I believe. Did you manage to get anywhere near the Rogue One locations?
No, I didn't, because we're on a very, very strict schedule, and it was a brilliant schedule. That we were taken to the bridge between two continental plates, and geysers, and the thermal power plants, all these different places. It was wonderful. There wasn't a moment to spare, but yeah, absolutely, I would certainly go back again and have a look at Rogue One places.
Superb.
Right then, Andy. So what we've decided to focus on for this month is, I know we're a tiny bit late, but it's Halloween, and who cares? Halloween, it goes on for 10 months in America, I think, from looking at some of my friends' Facebook posts, but Halloween is certainly a far bigger thing over the US than it is over here. So, Andy, as a kid, Halloween, for me, Halloween it was just not a thing. We weren't allowed to do it. Me and my sister were not allowed to do it at all. It was seen as begging, and it was just something that didn't happen. We very, very, very rarely got trick-or-treaters as kids. When my children were little, were about the ages of 2 or 3, that's when, with the explosion of the American movies and TV programs, that's when we started to get trick-or-treaters going around, and then you saw the costumes appearing in the supermarkets, and that's when it became a big thing. I think I remember as a kid hollowing out a turnip. I think that's all we did, because we couldn't afford pumpkins. So a turnip was, cost 5 pence for a turnip, and I think I remember hollowing one of those out, but that was it for me. Halloween, no more memories.
Yeah, very similar for me, Rich. As you say, wasn't really a thing, and I think trick-or-treating was just about coming in when I was in perhaps my early teens or just before, because very few kids did it. I can remember a few doing it, and then sort of pestering parents to let us go out the next year. Very basic costumes. I can remember my brother having the absolute classic sheet with 2 holes cut out for eyes, and then a skeleton mask. I think from my other brother, with a camo jacket and a camo hat, so he looked a bit sinister. And I can't sort of remember what I wore, but yeah, going around and just knocking on friends' houses. We didn't sort of do a trick or treat up and down the road like you. I don't think I ever saw a pumpkin when we were kids. I don't think they were a thing around here. Or certainly not the large Halloween ones that you get these days. So again, turnips, you'd hack a turnip out. Now, turnips are really, really hard inside. And I can remember my dad hacking at these things with potato peelers and kitchen knives. And of course, he'd cut his fingers and get blood all over the place. And yeah, not good. In fact, I think one year he just said no, flatly refused to do that. So we had lanterns made out of paper instead around a candle. So, yeah, that was Halloween. It has become much, much bigger of late. And I mentioned before what they do in Chard, where I live, where the road's closed and everybody goes out dressed up. And that's a wonderful atmosphere. So, yeah, one of the highlights of the year for me.
I do remember when my daughter was about 6 or 7, it was about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And she came downstairs after being put to bed and said, "Oh, Dad, I just remembered I need a Halloween costume for tomorrow." We were kind of like, what do we do? So I took the cereal box and I cut some holes in it, and I cut it in the shape of Darth Vader's helmet, found a bin bag, ripped it open and put a black belt around her waist, and basically taped the Darth Vader's mask onto our head, and that was the best I could do. That's what you're wearing tomorrow.
Brilliant. That's parenting and coming up with the goods at short notice. Love it.
Well, but as I said though, I mean Halloween was huge in America. I mean, and even after I watched like E.T. for the first time and things, it didn't really, say to me how big a thing it was. It was only, I'd say it was only when you saw social media and all the photographs that you saw and people talking about trick or treating. I think that's when I saw it for what it really is. But in Star Wars, there's so much to collect around Halloween, and a lot of it is quite reasonably priced. So I think we're going to start off with costumes and masks. I think that's the best place to start because there are some absolutely amazing costumes and masks. And I think if we're going to go anywhere, we're going to have to start with Ben Cooper.
Yeah, that's a very good place to start, Rich. Yeah, Ben Cooper, American company, they put out a whole range of costumes back in the original trilogy era, didn't they? We had Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, we had all sorts going on there. We had Chewbacca, we had C-3PO, we had Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, R2-D2, Stormtrooper. Who wouldn't want to go as R2-D2 for Halloween? I'm not sure about that one, although it's not really an R2 costume as such, is it?
No, it's not really. I mean, obviously it's boxed as R2, but it's hard. It's much more robotic. You can pick that mask up from another franchise and think it's something else. I mean, obviously the cape is clearly R2-D2, and I think that's something we've not said about these. Actually, they are actually, for what they are, pretty good quality. I know they might look tatty and things nowadays, but I think back then you would have been the best kid on the block having one of these both for you, coming in a nice sturdy box with a mask and a cape as well. I think they are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're not bad, are they? So you get a plastic mask, so it's just a standard face mask covering just the front of your head and probably a piece of elastic around the back. Then you get a sort of smock type garment to go over your top, and with some of these you get a pair of plastic trousers as well. So the R2-1 plastic mask, it looks almost like a cross between R2-D2 and Transformers. They've adapted R2's dome into a mask shape. It looks a bit odd. Below that, your smock, you've got a picture of R2-D2 on the front there, and then you've got a pair of silver trousers beneath to finish it off. Not exactly an R2 costume, but a costume featuring R2.
Absolutely.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. I mean, we're saying most of these did come in a box. There is a Stormtrooper on the SWCA that's actually comes on a cardboard hanger.
Yeah, I think there were a few like that. It's in the Luke Skywalker one on that as well. Yeah.
And I think these must have been quite late in the Star Wars line because the Boba Fett costume, which was Star Wars branded, which isn't really a big surprise because, as we know, most things didn't come with the Empire Strikes Back branding on it because they didn't expect Star Wars to be as popular continuing, and they didn't think the sequel was going to make anywhere near as much of an impact as it did. But the numbering system suggests that these are late because you've got C-3PO's number 742, you've got Princess Leia 745, and Boba Fett 748. So it's not as if it's a number miles down the line of the Ben Cooper numbering systems.
Yeah, I think Boba Fett was on the radar of most manufacturers, wasn't he? Because of his appearance in the holiday special, he was touted as a big figure in the next movie. So I think a lot of people got the heads up to produce merchandise early for Boba Fett. The one from Empire Strikes Back that I wanted to highlight was Yoda. And there are two different variations of Yoda that Ben Cooper produced. One had a blue mask, and then the other, which I'm guessing was perhaps a later one, had a green mask. And of course, it's the Yoda character, although we're actually thinking about it now. I was going to say it's the Yoda character that features in E.T., isn't it? But I think that was a Don Post mask rather than a Ben Cooper mask. So this is the scene where Elliot takes E.T. out trick-or-treating. There's all these kids dressed up on the street, and E.T., of course, is dressed up as a little ghost again with the eye holes cut out, and he spots a lad dressed up as Yoda, and he gets very excited, and he points him, and he tries to follow him on because he's obviously recognised him as an alien, because, as we know, E.T.s do come from the Star Wars galaxy.
Absolutely. But what I particularly like, I'm glad you moved on Empire because there were some costumes in there that you just don't see elsewhere. So who would have thought that you needed a Princess Leia Hoth costume? I mean,
Yeah,
Ben Cooper's really pushed that one out.
yes, absolutely. I mean, you're trying to sell to all kids, I guess. I suppose your target market is girls as well as boys. And there aren't a lot of female characters in Star Wars, are there? So if you're going to appeal to the girls, then a Princess Leia costume is an obvious choice. But wouldn't Bespin perhaps be a more appealing costume?
Yeah, you think you would? You would, yeah, Leia Bespin. So you've got the Leia original. Would the Leia Hoth be the second most obvious? I don't know. Maybe they wanted something that was a bit more feisty. Perhaps they didn't want to do another kind of flowery dress kind of thing when it's Halloween.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because the original one comes with a white dress and the Leia mask. And then, curiously, on the bottom part of the dress, you've got the Tom Young artwork. You've got Luke holding his lightsaber over his head, his bare chest. You've got Leia crouching at his feet with her blaster pointed, and various characters to either side of them. The Leia Hoth costume is much more functional, isn't it? It looks much more like the outfit that she wore in the movie.
Oh, absolutely. To be honest with you, I think Ben Cooper's really hit it out the park. I mean, some like the Boba Fett costume, obviously they've looked at, concept drawings of Boba Fett, and you might look at that and think, oh, they could have done a better job. But anything that's, movie scene, I think that they've done really well on the accuracy.
They have, and yes, as you say, the Empire costumes are much more costumes rather than just an outfit that's got the picture of the character printed on it.
Mm-hmm. But they knock it out the park on, the branded as Revenge of the Jedi initially, but they knock it out the park, these ones.
Yes, yeah, good range of characters again. Akbar, Gamorrean Guard, Klaatu, Wicket. Those, I think, are the new ones, aren't they? And then you've got the old R2 and 3PO and Luke and Leia, etc. Leia still in her Hoth outfit, interesting. And you've got 2 or 3 different outfits that you could choose from Return of the Jedi. Maybe not the bikini.
Yep, so those were the Revenge of the Jedi ones, the Return of the Jedi ones. I mean, the Luke X-Wing is brilliant. I think the Luke X-Wing is a really, really good costume. Fits a child 41 inch to 46 inches tall. It's quite small, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Wicket one must be smaller than that, I imagine.
That's cool. Let's have a look at Wicket, actually.
51 inch to 56 inch.
Oh, so the Wicket one's taller. Fits. Oh, well, actually, they'll become in different sizes, don't they?
That's the size large.
Yes, that's a large.
Age 12 to 14. I'm not sure at 14 whether I would have wanted to go out on the streets wearing a Wicket costume. But
made of flame retardant vinyl.
Yeah.
All right, and so again, Ben Cooper's got a great range, but they weren't the only ones, were they? So you mentioned Don Post.
Yeah, Don Post made not full costumes, but Don Post just had the masks, and their masks were much more authentic. They were made of rubber. They were full over-the-head masks. And again, various characters. You could get the Stormtrooper, you could get Darth Vader, C-3PO, Boba Fett, Yoda, various different ones. And yeah, they look a little bit clunky now compared to the sort of thing that the 501st guys wear. But back in the day, that was the best thing that you could get. And they really did the business, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. The Dom Post is it's a different level again to the Ben Cooper stuff. That's not taking anything away from the Ben Cooper, but the Ben Cooper stuff is very 70s.
Yeah, and they're aimed at different markets, to be fair. The Ben Cooper stuff is aimed at kids for Halloween, dressing up parties, whereas the Don Post are actual costume cosplay. I'm not sure if cosplay was a word back then, but it was aimed at people who wanted a much more movie-accurate representation of the character.
Now, the Ben Cooper masks that were available, were they the same masks that came in the sets with the capes, or these are different range of masks? I mean, I know that some, for example, the Tusken Raider didn't come as a full costume, but it was sold as a mask. But what about the 3PO, the Chewbacca's and Vader's?
Yeah, just having a look, they do look different. The mask that came in the box, looking at the C-3PO, it's not as detailed. It's not got the colour on the mask that the ones that were sold separately did. Because I'm going by what we had in the UK here. Palitoy issued a range of masks for the original movie, Star Wars. So we had C-3PO, Darth Vader, Tusken Raider, Chewbacca, and somebody else. 5, I think there were anyway, and they were quite detailed. They had a decent paint job, whereas the ones that I'm looking at here from Ben Cooper in the boxes anyway are quite plain masks. Not a lot of detail to them, not a lot of colour. So, I think they were a different range by the looks of things.
And these masks went all over the place, but I think did Ben Cooper sell to France, for example, and then Caesar brand them, or did Caesar have their own version of these masks? Because again, it's the same C-3PO, Chewbacca, Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, and Tuskens.
Yeah, same characters, but no, the Caesar masks are completely different again, totally different molds, different paint jobs, and very collectible in their own right. As I say, Palatoy ones just reused the Ben Cooper ones, and in fact, the masks that you get in the UK have Ben Cooper tags attached inside, so they must have been just imported in bulk and then sold under the Palatoy brand. But Caesar is a totally different thing, as I think are the Australian ones, Kroner Toys. Not 100% sure, and again, just looking on the SWCA, no, it looks as if those are repackaged or reboxed Ben Cooper masks.
Yeah, I thought, Ben Cooper mask on them.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of masks and costumes to choose from, and I owned a Boba Fett boxed costume, Ben Cooper. Oh, what now? About 8 years ago now. I only paid about £25 for it, and it was still in fairly good condition. Obviously, you're going to expect rips and deterioration on it, but for £25, I mean, obviously, it's going to be a bit more now, but most of them I think are achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. You can pick up again over here. You can get the Palatoy masks, Ben Cooper masks. You can get the costumes that Akamas put out for Return of the Jedi. Range of about 8 characters, and they did masks, and they also did separate boxed outfits, so a mask and a vinyl smock. We also had, just for Star Wars and just the one character, but a company called Cheryl put out a C-3PO playsuit, which was really pretty good. So you got a plastic mask, very similar, but their own unique mold, and then a vinyl top and trousers combination printed with C-3PO's robotic parts. And that was really good. That one is pretty hard to find. That's one. If you're looking for that one, you'll have a little bit of hunting to do.
My name is Dean Charles Chapman, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
So let's move over to some different kinds of masks now. So Japan always do something that's weird, wonderful, amazing, unique takes, and they released some cardboard masks for the Return of the Jedi line. Now, with them being cardboard, these will be incredibly tough to track down. You'd expect them to look cheap, you expect them to be torn, but Salacious Crumb mask really does it for me. It's a brilliant mask.
Yeah, the artwork on these is just amazing, isn't it? And yes, Salacious Crumb mask. Where else could you get one of those but Japan? He's there, isn't he? All his glory. So you've got the little eye holes cut out. You've got his ears, his sort of bat wing ears, and the little hole that you attach the elastic to, and his beak, and his wrinkly skin. He's wonderful. Never seen these before. I tell you what, these remind me of. There was a book of masks that was put out in the States, and they're quite similar to those, or the masks that were on the backs of C-3PO cereal.
Yep.
Very, very similar in concept, but yet the designs here and the range of characters.
Toothface.
Toothface, yeah.
Who's Toothface? Who on earth is Toothface?
That's better known as Whipped.
Yep.
One of Jabba's goons. I think, was he on the sail barge?
He was on the sail barge, yeah, but what a character to choose.
Yeah, wonderful. And a superb representation. Again, that looks just so strange, doesn't it? You'd certainly get some funny looks if you were wearing that around the streets for Halloween.
Well, you certainly would, because Japan also released a range of rubber pullover masks as well. And again, the usual characters, Klaatu, Wicket, Yoda, Gamorrean God, but they're wonderful sets of masks.
Yeah, they are something else, aren't they? Rubber pullover masks, not quite as good quality as the Don Post ones, I'm guessing, but it looks like a thinner sort of rubber, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at the Darth Vader one, well, you might almost expect to find that in sort of specialist shops, mightn't you? rather than sci-fi. That does look a bit disturbing, but yes, there we go. That's the Japanese for you.
Akamis made a range of masks in the UK.
Yes, they did. Akamas had, again, about 8 different variations, 8 or 10. You've got the human characters, Luke and Leia. You've got Akbar, you've got Klaatu, you've got Wicket, you've got Gamorrean Guard, C-3PO, Darth Vader, Stormtrooper. That's all I can remember offhand from memory. But yeah, very similar to the old Ben Cooper ones in design. Just the sort of face mask with the elastic to attach it onto your head.
And with regards to masks, I mean, obviously, we're not just a purely vintage podcast. This went right the way all the way up to Revenge of the Sith. So, clone trooper helmets. I've seen some wonderful clone trooper costumes. And you can imagine children of, 8, 10-year-old when Attack the Clones was out or Revenge of the Sith, being so pleased to get these given at Halloween. Wonderful costumes.
Oh, absolutely. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Jango Fett, Padme. Yeah, they're all in there. And the classic characters as well. I can remember my little nephew must have been around about 8, mad on Star Wars, and we gave him a Darth Vader face mask for Christmas and absolutely loved it. Absolutely beamed on opening that. So yeah, masks still a thing, still something that kids like and enjoy, and it's great to see it.
Again, this is something else I was surprised at as well. I was surprised about how many patterns and things like that existed in the States. And McCall's made quite a few patterns for Star Wars costumes. So, first of all, Andy, what is a pattern?
It's a sewing pattern, isn't it? So it's a paper pattern. You would cut out the paper, you would pin it onto your fabric, use that to cut out the fabric, and then you've got sewing instructions inside the pattern, which basically tell you how to put it together.
I've heard of the 12-inch unproduced action figure dress patterns existing, perhaps leading to speculation on some of the authenticity of some pieces. Have you heard of that one before?
I've not, no.
Oh yes, I heard about that last year, I think. Yeah, the patterns for some of from Leia's dolls. I mean, obviously the likes of Gus and people like that are going to have, genuine costumes, but there seems to be some that have got some question marks on them because once the pattern turned up, started to raise some eyebrows, I think.
Yeah, find a similar looking fabric and start turning a few out. Oh, I'd not heard about that. Naughty.
Yep, absolutely. But Star Wars costume patterns, you know what? I think that's the kind of thing that I would have been bought by an eccentric aunt who would buy me that and go, oh, he's going to love, spending time sewing this. And I would have looked at it and went, oh, that looks amazing. Started off really carefully, made a mistake and threw it in the bin.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Funnily enough, I'm working on Obi-Wan Kenobi robes at the moment. Wanted a cosplay outfit that is comfortable to wear, something that suits somebody of the older persuasion, shall we say? And I am, as we speak, sorting out material, and I've got my paper patterns cut out and some of it pinned up. I've not actually started putting any of it together yet, but that is an ongoing project. So, McCall's, looking at The Empire Strikes Back, you've got a Chewbacca made in a very fetching furry fabric. You've got Princess Leia, which is probably, arguably, the best of the lot because, Leia's dress is just a nice white fabric dress. You've got Yoda in his little brown robe. A Jawa, I do like that one. Jawa robe with bandoliers. And then Darth Vader, is that the full outfit or is it just the cape? I think it's just the cape, and the poor lad who's wearing it has just got his school uniform on underneath, I think. Black trousers, black jumper, black shoes. So those were the 5 characters under Star Wars, rather. No, it must be under Empire.
It's under Empire because you would say, but I mean, the accessories, the guns, what are those? They don't look like the kind of plastic toys, or perhaps they are, and it's a bad picture.
Yeah, I think you've got a Stormtrooper blaster, you've got Hans blaster. Vader is definitely holding a knockoff lightsaber there.
Mm-hmm.
That is certainly not an official canon product. Return of the Jedi, McCall's put out an Ewok costume pattern, and there are some rather dubious looking Ewoks on the front of that. If you came across one of those on Halloween, you really would run for your life. So the Ewoks, and then you've also got a pattern for Luke Skywalker's Jedi shirt with the sort of fold-over flap at the top. And you've then got more recently a company called Butterick, who put out a few. This was round about late 90s, Rich, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia. McCall's got back in the act for Phantom Menace. They put out some Jedi costumes. So there's a Darth Maul, there's a Jedi, and an Anakin. And the last one we've got on the SWCA is a company called Simplicity, who again have done Obi-Wan Jedi costume, Leia, Padme, Jedi, Padme, and Green Girl. Green Girl, I think, is supposed to be a Twi'lek. But yeah, that's all you get. Green Girl, and then you get Padme and adult Leia. Interesting mix of costumes.
Absolutely, but you could, if you wished, you could make one of them. It's probably good enough to go to a cosplay event. It's certainly not something that's going to be accepted in any kind of costuming group, but you could certainly get away with it celebration and places like that.
Oh, absolutely. And like I say, some of them are actually not bad. The layer dresses, the ones that are more akin to real world outfits, you can probably put together quite a decent effort based on those patterns.
Mm-hmm. All of those masks and costumes cover, you've got your Star Wars movies, main characters, you've got your Empire Strikes Back movie, you've got Return of the Jedi, you've got the prequel movies all really well covered. So there's a great range of Halloween costume ideas, isn't there?
There is nothing at all from sequel trilogy, interestingly enough, and I don't recall seeing anything, funnily enough.
No, but I don't think the sequel trilogy really lends itself to the costumes and masks. I mean, you look at the iconic key characters, they've already been done. I mean, yeah, I could possibly argue that Kylo Ren could have got away with a costume, but I mean, who else? The rest would just be all generic aliens and things.
First Order Stormtrooper,
Hmm.
and then I suppose the human character not so much.
Yeah.
But you've got some really good characters, really good. I was thinking that Zori Bliss, for example, fairly minor character, but a wonderful costume.
Mm-hmm. Right then, so when you go Halloween and you want to have something in your hand, you want something to walk around with you, and I'd like to highlight 3 items on the SWC which I was completely unaware of until about 2 days ago, and that is the beauty of that website. And these are the unproduced large weapons. One of them I've definitely not heard of before. The other 2, I think they might ring a bell, but we'll start off with the lightsaber. So what's that about, Andy?
Yeah, this is a very short-bladed lightsaber. Do you remember the droids version that you got, which was a really stubby blade on a hilt? And I think you could get them in red and in green. It's a very similar one to that. So you've got a lightsaber hilt. It looks like it's in white or a silver. There's a red activation button. The blade is retractable, apparently. So presumably that short, stubby blade will slide back into the handle so you can kind of ignite your lightsaber. And not a very inspiring toy at all, really. When I was a kid, I wanted a lightsaber that was a decent length. You don't want to be walking around with a light dagger. It's a lightsaber, for goodness sake. So I really don't think that would have appealed to me. What else have we got there?
Well, the laser rifle. So this is the laser rifle Stormtroopers. 2-trigger, activate different electronic laser sounds, see-through light. I mean, it is very similar to what was actually produced. A couple of minor differences on there. Perhaps this was just an early version of the Stormtrooper weapon that came out.
Yeah, although the others pictured alongside it are from later in the movies, aren't they? Because the lightsaber is supposed to be a Return of the Jedi version. The other one that we'll come on to talk about in a minute is definitely an Empire release, whereas the Stormtrooper blaster was definitely made for Star Wars. So I'm not quite sure what it's doing in this little bunch. But the third one, Rich, which I will ask you to describe in a minute, that's the really intriguing one that would have been on a lot of Christmas lists at the time, I'm sure. What was that?
So this was the Boba Fett wrist blaster. And I happily admit I've never heard of it before. So we have got a orange, what's that? It's going to be like a plastic kind of box that would be strapped to your wrist with Velcro straps. And then it fires soft-tipped darts when the switch is activated. And it came with 3 darts. So it's going to be something similar to a very weak Nerf gun, I'd imagine, where the darts will probably just fire out with little springs of a distance of a couple of feet and fall to the floor. But yeah, it's definitely a nifty little thing. I could imagine quite a few people holding that arm out and just firing their darts as if they're Fett.
Yeah, what an obvious toy to make. Why did that not make it to the shops? You had your Boba Fett costumes. Why did they not make the wrist blaster? That's fantastic.
Has to be cost, doesn't it? Has to be cost.
Yeah, I guess. Lovely.
Right, Andy, then. So, I mean, I was super excited when I heard about when the next one was being released because I think there were so many obvious Star Wars horror crossovers. And before we mention the two books that you posted there, I think probably did the Galaxy of Fear come out before these, the young adult books? They were quite very horrorish. I mean, they obviously didn't want to scare anybody. They were very horrorish in the themes with their where they're weird aliens and science and Dr. Everson kind of characters in there. I think they probably came out before.
I think you're right. Goodness me, I'd forgotten all about those, Rich. I don't know whether I've ever read one of them, but yes, you're right. Very much themed around sort of young adult scary stories. And yeah, perhaps I'll have to check those out. Have you got those? Have you read them?
I have. I've read them all, and the first six they were fairly easy to get. I remember getting the first four at Waterstones, and then losing interest in them whilst all of the Junior Jedi novels and everything were coming out. And then I managed to pick up the next two, so I got the first six, but the next six are incredibly tough to get and really expensive. And I remember seeing like something like book 8 or book 9 going for £60, and I thought, wow, I'm never going to get these. But I managed to get the next six in a set, and I didn't pay that much money for them, so I'm not sure what went on there. But yep, I do own all 12 books.
Oh, very good. And are they sort of themed around sort of classic our world horror? You know, have you got sort of vampires and werewolves and things, or
No,
is it
no,
more
it's
imaginative?
much more about spawn and bacteria that's been grown in a lab, and it's a bit like the blob, I suppose. It's more like that.
Right, interesting. I will have to look those out.
Mm-hmm.
So the two books that I'd highlighted, these are more recent, and these are not young adult fiction. These are very much aimed at mature readers, and these are both by a guy called Joe Schreiber, who has written a couple of really good books. Actually, I would recommend these. And the first one is called Death Troopers, and for any thought of Rogue One and those black armored stormtroopers, forget them. That's not what this is about. Death Troopers is set just before A New Hope, and it's about an Imperial prison barge which breaks down in a far off part of space, and the only hope they've got is that they find a derelict Star Destroyer. They send a boarding party over to scavenge for parts to fix their barge. Only half of them come back with a horrible disease. Most of the prison barge population dies. But of course, it being a horror novel, that is not all, because they don't stay dead. It's a rollicking good adventure story, some really good cast of characters. And I'm not going to give away the twist, but about halfway through, the new characters, all new characters to this story, are joined by a couple of rather more familiar faces, and that's when the story really gets going. Did you enjoy this one, Rich?
I did enjoy it, but I enjoyed the cover far more. I thought the cover of that book was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's the really iconic. So it's the stormtrooper helmet, battered, bloodied, hung from a hook, just nasty. We got some images in The Mandalorian of stormtrooper helmets impaled on spikes, and I do wonder whether this was the inspiration. Yeah, you see that image, that clearly something really nasty has happened to that poor stormtrooper, and you want to know more about it, don't you?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
The follow-up, this is a book called Red Harvest, and any Star Wars fan will know very clearly that's a play on the old title for Return of the Jedi. This takes us all the way back to Old Republic era. You've got Jedi Knights in the agriculture, not Jedi Knights, the Jedi Agricultural Corps. So those who weren't really up to being Jedi Knights, They are working with their plants in their greenhouses, and a rare species of black orchid is being grown. Turns out that's the final ingredient in an ancient Sith formula. But also that formula contains a virus that we might have seen before in the old Death Troopers book. So again, more zombies, more nastiness, and again, really good book, really well plotted, characters you care about. Enjoyed it.
I wasn't as fussed on that one, if I'm honest with you. I don't know if it was just the time period it was set in, or I was hoping for a sequel rather than the prequel. But I was a little disappointed, I think, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I thought as an Old Republic novel, I thought it was quite interesting. A lot of that period to me does seem a little bit sterile. I far prefer the sort of dirty, worn universe of the original trilogy era rather than the more sort of sterile, sparkling Old Republic. But yeah, thought that was quite good. Moving on.
Yeah, I want to jump into accessories next because so can we have a look at things like all of the different kinds of hands that was really actually no, we'll go to the Darth Vader trick or treat bucket. Because I think that's something that we do have to talk about. A Mexican release, the Darth Vader helmet trick or treat bucket. Now, this is a 1995 thing, but why haven't we got these everywhere?
Well, unlicensed, and you can see why, can't you? It looks like a Mexican wrestling mask crossed with Darth Vader. But yeah, plastic bucket in the shape of the Dark Lord's helmet, black with silver painted details. And that's that's just brilliant, isn't it? Very misshapen, silver cross-hatched eyes. That's a funny thing. I do like that.
But you've got your traditional orange pumpkins that kids will walk around with. But can you imagine a Darth Vader helmet with a handle on the top with red glowing eyes? I mean, that would be creepy as anything.
Oh, red glowing eyes! I like that. That's a nice detail. Yeah, can go for that.
So, why so many hands?
Yes, you need hands. Yeah, Don Post, back to them again. They produced 3 sets of hands. They produced hands for Admiral Akbar, or I guess for any of the Moncal characters. They produced Cantina Band member hands, and they produced Greedo hands. Now, not a lot of people know this, but there were 2 different Greedo hands
Left
in
and
Star
right.
Wars. Left and right, indeed. There were 2 more different types of hands. The hands that Paul Blake wore in Cantina in Star Wars, his fingers were really long and flexible. They were probably twice the length of his normal fingers. They were tipped with suckers. And to be honest, they don't really look very good in stills from the time. It was edited quite carefully, so you don't really see much of those gloves on screen. When they did the pickups in California with Maria de Aragon in the costume, the gloves were much more traditional shaped gloves, designed a little bit more to resemble alien fingers, sort of warty and so on, and didn't look quite as dodgy as the old ones that poor Paul Blake had to manage with. Not very helpfully, there isn't a picture of these on the archive, so I don't know which version Don Post went with.
And it also made Prince Shizo hands as well. That's really odd. There's no Shizo mask that I'm aware of. There's no Shizo costume, but Prince Shizo hands.
Yeah, odd one, as you say, without a mask to go with it. And then later on, for Phantom Menace, we had Jar Jar hands to go with Jar Jar feet and Jar Jar mask. So yeah, throw yourself some Jar Jar costuming together, and you could have had a full Jar Jar outfit. Latex feet, latex hands, latex mask.
And Rubies did a lot. They came out with a lot of products for all prequels and the original trilogy.
Yeah, Rubies are the go-to guys for costuming, aren't they? If you're on a budget or not so much of a budget, because they've got their deluxe editions as well.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of weapons, lightsabers and blasters and what have you. We've got, I'm sure it was Rubies who've done the Princess Leia blaster and other things. We have got costuming gear as well. Amidala Deluxe Makeup Kit, Amidala Makeup Kit, Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Braid, Darth Maul Deluxe Makeup Kit, Darth Maul Lightsabers, Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi Braid, Obi-Wan Kenobi Lightsaber, Anakin Skywalker Accessory Kit. Oh dear, that's an odd one. We've got an Anakin Skywalker mask with an extendable lightsaber, a belt, and a hooded cloak. We've got a Jango Fett accessory kit, very sort of similar contents, and we've got a Padme accessory kit with, again, a mask. Yeah, crikey, that one looks like she's a zombie, doesn't it? Goodness.
Now, you're going to want to be invited somewhere to wear all of these, so I think everybody's probably familiar with the vampire-looking Princess Leia on a Halloween party invitation. ILM would know the huge about Christmas, surely Halloween?
Absolutely, yeah. ILM really went big for Halloween in the 2000s. The invite that everybody would have wanted was to the ILM Halloween party. And we got some fantastic invitations to this, really collectible. There's a good...
Well, we didn't get any. We didn't get any invitations, just be clear on that.
No, we didn't. Of course we didn't. But there's an excellent blog on the SWCA. There's that website again, with a lot of these invites. So the first one from 1996 is a really odd-looking one, a play on the Eerie comic series that ran from 1966 to 1983. We've got Princess Leia screaming at something. We've got Darth Vader getting his head smashed in by a Martian. We've got various other characters around. We've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've got what looks like Superman. We've got a mummy. We've got Frankenstein. That's an odd one, but it's Halloween Bash, October 31st. And that was the invitation from 1998. Next one features a Blair Witch Project image. And this is a really scary one because it's that sort of image from the Blair Witch, the spooky forest in the background, the character wearing a woolly hat with frightened-looking eyes, but it's not a human character. It is Mr. Binks himself, and it is the Lucas Halloween Project. This was from 1999. Was it 99? No,
it was 2000.
2000.
An odd character to choose, considering, Lucas himself said that Jar Jar was going to make or break the prequels.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the blog says it seems that by now they'd fully embraced Jar Jar's maligned status in our popular culture. So what was the next one then, Rich? Also featuring Jar Jar, 2001. What did they go with there?
Yeah, so this is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Poltergeist, the little girl. Well, actually, is it Poltergeist? I've assumed it's Poltergeist, but it could also be The Ring.
Yeah, no, it is Poltergeist.
It is Poltergeist with a little girl in front of the TV.
That's the one. And the tagline on the ILM Christmas card is "Misa back." I like that. Annual ILM Halloween Party 2001. So 2002, then we come into real classic horror territory with The Exorcist. But ILM being ILM, they've changed that a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, the Exorcist. Great. Somebody must have sat down one day and went, got it.
Very clever. I do like that. So again, that classic image of the street scene at night with the silhouetted gateway and the fencing and the little windows in the background and a character's silhouette standing under the lamppost. Not who you expect. This time it's Master Yoda. And the tagline on the invite is, "The scariest party of all time it will be."
Then we seem to move away from movies on the next few. They're just, to me anyway, they seem to be generic trick-or-treat Halloween invitations.
Much more generic imagery, yeah. And I've got to be honest, 2003, that is a bit of a disappointment. I think they dropped the ball on this one. Trick or treat, it says on the front. Trick, you've got Darth Vader. It's stock imagery, standing there with his lightsaber drawn and a pumpkin collecting pot in his hand. So he's the trick, and the treat is Master Yoda, episode 1 Yoda, that would be, stood there again with his lightsaber out and also clutching a pumpkin bucket. Not very keen on that one. Back to form for the next one, for 2004. And with that, you have got a lit up window with some pumpkins outside it. You've got a C-3PO pumpkin, you've got an R2-D2 pumpkin, and a nice big Darth Vader pumpkin.
Well, they're experimenting more with IT by this point, aren't they? They're using computers to produce these. That's why they look like something that you could knock together in Publisher.
Yeah. And then the last one, my absolute favourite, and as you say, this is the one that's more commonly known, that's done the rounds, and rightly so.
Princess Leia vampire picture of the Halloween party, a definite nod back to the old pulp Hammer House of Horror kind of covers. I think this is brilliant.
Yeah, wonderful. Tagline is glamour and gore together again. The ILM Halloween party. Imagination, creativity, ingenuity, vision, fantasy. Just absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I mean that image would work as a poster, wouldn't it? That I'd really love to have on the wall. Superb.
Absolutely. And what's even better than everything that you've mentioned there is this is the power of the internet. November the 1st, 2014, 11 years ago, I made a post on the bottom of that page, which I have absolutely no memory of. And it says, these are so fun. I think the parodies of the movies were by far the best. Would have thought FX7 would have worked better on The Exorcist. How terrifying would a silhouette of that be? Surprised there wasn't a Shining mass-up. Tarkin or Mace would be ideal candidates to smash through the door.
I like that. That's a good idea. There we are. Rich Hutchinson joining us from 21 years ago.
Or 11.
11 years ago.
Yeah, we'll go with 11 years.
It's been a long day.
Unless you're listening to this in 10 years' time, of course. Then you'd be right.
Oh, dear. Moving swiftly on.
Black Series.
Black Series, yes. Black Series. I do like my Black Series, actually. I've got quite a few Black Series figures now. I use them in my photography. Nicely detailed, nicely posable. But, Rich, I've got to be honest, these Halloween figures that they've done
Terrible.
Are absolutely god-awful. The only redeeming feature about these is that they're better than the Christmas ones.
These would work if they were the Munsters or something like that, but as Star Wars releases, they are terrible.
Yeah, this is the crossover that nobody needs. So we'll go through them quickly. So they started in 2022. First release was a Wookiee with wolf ears, grey fur, and he's clutching a little bogling, and he also comes with a pumpkin bucket accessory, modelled on Chewie, but a Wookiee with wolf ears doesn't work for me. Not keen. 22 as well. The other release was a clone trooper, and this guy is wearing black armour with glow-in-the-dark skeleton details on there, and he comes with a little porg. Lovely. For some reason, they skipped a year in 23. What do we get in 24, Rich?
We've got a 2-pack. So maybe that's why they skipped the year, because the figure wasn't ready. Maybe it was going to miss. But we had the Sith Inquisitor, Duros Bounty Hunter, Minoc, and Babu Freak. I think this is meant to be a play on Frankenstein and Dracula, but they just don't. They look as bad as those modern prototypes that they've released with multicolour arms and limbs and heads, and didn't work for me at all.
They really do. So the Duros Bounty Hunter, that's kind of, what's his name? The Duros Bounty, the one that was in Book of Boba Fett, guy with the hat.
Cad Bane.
Cad Bane, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, so the Duros Bounty Hunter, that's kind of a play on Cad Bane, isn't it? He's stood there, he's got a green face, wearing weird coloured clothing, carrying an electro staff. And then you've got the Sith Inquisitor, looking like a very dodgy vampire, just doesn't work for me at all, I'm afraid. Sorry. 2025, we got 3 figures in 25. First one being a stormtrooper, and this is a night trooper from the Ahsoka series. He's clutching a long pole. He's clad in bandages. He's supposed to be a mummy, and he is packaged with a porg, coloured brown, glowing eyes. Don't know what's going on there. What else do we get, Rich?
I mean, I do like Asajj Ventress. I think it's an amazing character, but dressed as a witch with a broomstick and a black cat or a black bogling, again, doesn't work. It's something out of, it's something out of Wicked. If you wanted a witch, go and collect Wicked.
Yeah, but it's not Ventress. It doesn't suit that character at all. Nor does the third release for 2005, which is an Emperor's Royal Guard. Not clad in red, clad in white, looking like a ghost.
The mummy, I think, isn't it?
Is it a ghost? No, well, the stormtrooper is the mummy.
Yeah, the stormtrooper.
I don't know, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's packaged with a little green bogling with red glowing eyes. And yeah, less said about those, the better. I think moving swiftly on.
Yes, there's something Disney do, which I don't get myself, but I know other people love them, and these are pins.
Yeah, very, very collectible. And I mean, Disney knock out hundreds and hundreds of these. And as you say, folks do collect them. We just picked a few to look at today. There are loads. Star Wars pins, Halloween, Star Wars crossovers. But some of these are quite nice. The first ones were a set that were, I think they were released individually previously, but they were brought out as a 6-pack set in 2017. You got C-3PO and R2-D2 2-packs, C-3PO as a skeleton, R2-D2 as a little ghost, sort of dressed up. They're like Halloween costumes they're wearing. Just going back to Black Series, so much better than trying to do a mashup. I like these. Next one, you've got Wicket as a stormtrooper. He's wearing a stormtrooper helmet and he's carrying a sign that says trick or treat. You've got an angry Chewbacca carrying a stormtrooper effect pumpkin bucket. We've got a sort of a round one, looks kind of like a pumpkin, but dressed up as the Death Star. And silhouetted on that, you've got Chewie, Yoda, Boba Fett, Darth Vader, and Princess Leia, all out trick or treating. I really do like that one. Darth Vader in his pose where he's sort of reaching his hand out towards you, but below him you've got a Death Star candy bowl, so it's like he's reaching out for the candy, like that one again. And then you've got Yoda with a pumpkin and various treats that he's obviously coveting. So yeah, nice those. What other ones have we found, Rich?
Yeah, Andy, so as you'd imagine, with the Mandalorian movie coming out, there's going to be a lot of Grogu, Baby Yoda kind of things. So sold out from the Disney store, but the Grogu Halloween pin for a priceless sum of $5.99. So this is Grogu dressed up as a skeleton, and he's eating, well, different colour discs. Guessing there might be some kind of sweets from a Mandalorian pumpkin head little cask that it's carrying, or a little bucket. So yeah, it's cute, but it's not for me.
I know what he's eating. Flying saucers. Do you remember those when we were kids?
Hated them.
So it was it was a sort of, it was almost like a rice paper container, wasn't it?
With sugar inside.
Flying saucer with sherbet inside. Nice. Enjoyed those. And then the other one that we picked out, and this again, I really do like this one. This is the classic Star Wars logo that appeared on a lot of the early stuff, the one where the logo kind of recedes into the distance. Picked out in orange with a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin face on it. Really nice. Like that. I think I might buy one of those at Halloween.
But
not
again,
from here,
sold out.
Again, sold out on the Disney store. But yeah, I mean, if pins take your fancy, just type in to Google Star Wars Halloween pin. You'll find hundreds and hundreds. But I do quite like those. Don't mind those at all. Nice little range of cheap collectibles.
Hi there, this is Mike Quinn. I played Nine Num in Return of the Jedi and the new trilogy, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Well, speaking of cheap collectibles, Star Wars candy holders, tiny little figurines that had their arms out and you could put candies in the bowl. I actually think these look pretty good, to be honest with you. I wonder how tall are these? So inside the box you get one candy bowl holder, one candy bowl. How tall do you think these are? Do you think about 12 inches?
Yeah, or maybe a little bit bigger, 12 to 18 inches. They're caricatures, aren't they? They're not intended to look like the figures. They're kind of squished and squashed, but they're quite cute. All sorts available. I mean, here we can see Darth Maul, we can see Yoda, we can see Darth Vader, we can see Boba Fett, but I think there's a lot more of these available. And I quite like them. You know, if you've got a Halloween party, and you had 3 or 4 of these stood around with bowls of sweets, I think they're quite good.
I like the Jawa one. The Jawa one's pretty cool.
The Jawa is excellent. Yeah, yeah, I do like that. I wonder if the
upside down R2D2 head is the bowl.
I wonder if the eyes light up. That would
made by rubies.
If the eyes light up, I got to get myself one of those. I got to look at that. Yeah, in fact, on the looking at a forum, the Rebel Scum forums, somebody says, "I love that Jawa. How cool would it be to try and mount LEDs for his eyes?" So, yeah, I think that would have to be done.
Well, you mentioned turnips before, cutting turnips out, how difficult they were. So Star Wars, they released something that might make it a little bit easier for you in the pumpkin carving kit, which I've got a sneaky feeling that I might have had this when it was released.
Yeah, I mean, crikey, slap Star Wars on anything and try and flog it. You know, there's nothing Star Wars about this other than the fact that you've got some characters on the handles of these tools that you use for carving out your pumpkin. So you've got a scoop, you've got a saw, and then you've got what looks like a couple of sort of bladed bits for carving your faces in. Very cheap, very basic. I'm not sure you can even get these new anymore. This one that I'm looking at on eBay is £22, which sounds about £20 overpriced to me.
It would have had patterns though, didn't it? So you had the patterns to follow to make the characters in your pumpkins.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did. So yes, you could get some pumpkins to cut. Patterns to put on your pumpkin to cut out and make your faces. Funnily enough, I saw just recently on the Star Wars website that they've got a load of these that you can download now from the official StarWars.com. So don't bother buying these Star Wars pumpkin carving kits. Just go to the official website and get them there. This carving kit, I've seen this in 2 or 3 different packaging designs. Interesting little collectible if you're into that, but another one that's probably not for me, Rich.
The bag clip. I'll let you talk about the bag clip because I'm unsure about what these are unless it's literally the clip that you put over your bag and you shove something in the freezer with.
So these are figural bag clips, Halloween blind bag figural bag clip. I think they're literally just clips that you put on your bag. So they're decorative. They're like little key rings, little things to accessorize your bags. And these were produced, I think, a few years ago. They are very small, they're plastic, but a nice little range of Halloween characters, which is why we've chosen to feature them here. You have got C-3PO carrying a witch's broom and wearing a witch's hat. You've got a Death Star, which looks like a toffee apple. There's a sort of stick coming out the bottom of it. Yoda dressed up as a mummy, so he's got mummy's bandages all over his head and all over his body, and he's carrying his little stick. Princess Leia in her white gown carrying a pumpkin bucket. BB-8 in orange looking like a carved pumpkin. You've got Darth Vader. His helmet has been made into a Halloween bucket. So the top of his helmet is the handle, and that's full of treats and goodies. We've got Wicket carrying a little Halloween bucket and carrying a sign saying trick or treat. A character there now, I'm not entirely sure who this is because I can only see 3 little feet sticking at the bottom, but I think it must be R2D2, dressed as a ghost with the classic white sheet over him. And the last one is another ghost, and this is a stormtrooper helmet with a sort of trail of ectoplasm underneath him. Nice, cheap little trinkets, but I do quite like those. I think if I had a Star Wars man bag, I think I might be tempted to accessorize with that around Halloween time.
Well, one of the bags that I do have is the next one, but I don't have the Halloween one. But Tesco's in the UK released some bags for life with Star Wars on them, and I've still got my Force Awakens one. I did have some of the other ones, but they've disappeared over the years because bags for life don't last forever. Not if they're
No,
used anyway.
no.
So the one that you've spotted, I've never seen this before. It's the Star Wars Halloween Tesco bag. So on one side you have Vader and a couple of skeleton stormtroopers with, I'm guessing the spider web theme is meant to represent space because you've got X-wings and TIE fighters in the background. And then on the other side, you've got Yoda, very Clone Wars Yoda, but it looks more Gendy Tartakovsky's Yoda than
It
it does
does.
Dave Filoni's, doesn't it? With Yoda, well, I can't imagine Yoda putting a candy into the pumpkin with his hand outstretched. It's probably much more likely that he's force sucking it out of the pumpkin.
I
Yeah,
think he is.
so
He's clutching his treat bag, isn't he? Yeah,
yeah.
I think he's taking those sweets out and they're going
Taking the
straight.
sweets before Vader and the skeletons on the other side of the bar get them, but
They're going straight into that treat bag, aren't they?
yeah, nifty little thing, but yeah, not something I
Yeah,
want to track down.
quite like that. Quite like that. Well done, Tesco's.
Greeting cards. Now, who on earth sends Halloween greeting cards? That's not taken off in the UK, has it?
Halloween, has that taken off anywhere? Question there for our American listeners: do you guys send Halloween greeting cards? Somehow, I suspect not. But Drawing Board Company in the States thought they would give it a try, and they produced a range of Halloween cards. Nice designs, I've got to say. I do quite like these. Drawing Board have got a certain sort of style to their artwork, and this goes along with their birthday cards and their Christmas cards. So, yeah, quite nice these, aren't they?
The nicer ones are where the artists do their own representations. So I'm not fussed as much on the ones that are shots from the movie or publicity photos. I much prefer the artists making their own interpretations of what Chewbacca looks like. More interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hand drawn ones, they're more Halloweeny. Looking at a couple of these, what is Halloween about some of these? You've got a picture of Luke Skywalker from Episode 4 firing his blaster, and above that it says "for an out of this world son."
But the same as the Leia one, isn't it? Out of the world daughter.
Absolutely.
Anything that's Halloween is the colour of the card. It's orange.
Yeah, you've got the classic X-wing shooting at Darth Vader's TIE fighter with the Death Star, and that one says "for an Earthling boy." Inside it does say "intergalactic greetings for a happy Halloween," but the better ones, as you say, are the ones that have been hand drawn. There's a nice image of C-3PO with the moon behind him. He's carrying one of those sort of party masks, so it's just a mask that would hide your eyes, the kind of thing that Robin from Batman would have worn, just that sort of eye mask. And in behind the full moon, you've got bats flying past there. So that one's quite nice. You've got a Chewbacca one. It says "Do not fear" on the front, and inside it says "Your Wookiee friend is here." But again, Chewie against the full moon with bats flying past, and he's sort of raising a finger as if to say, "Don't worry, I'm here." There's a Darth Vader one. Again, full moon with bats. Bit of a recurring theme here. And Vader says that the message inside, "This is my kind of holiday." So you get the idea.
And the last thing I want to highlight is the Entertain Your Troops Halloween Fun Guide, compliments of Empire, but it's meant to be M&Ms. Have you seen this before?
I have not seen that, no.
No, so it's a guide on how to stay safe trick-or-treating. On one side, it has Entertain Your Troops, the Halloween Fun Guide, compliments of M, and then it's got an M&M with an M on it, the Empire. And then you've got the 4 colours of the M&Ms. The first one's dressed up as Darth Vader. The second one, I think, is Maul. Then we've got Padme and probably Obi-Wan at the back. And then it's got lots of M&Ms, Mars, Twix, Snickers, branding on the front. But on the back, it's got remind your troops. Number 1, stay in a group and communicate where they'll be going. Carry a mobile phone for quick communication. Only go to homes with the porch light on, etc., etc. I'm not going to read them all out. And then it's got for more spectacular holiday top tips, party favours, and decorating advice, visit us at brightideas.com. So that's a nice little product released in 2005. for the Revenge of the Sith line. So, yeah, the Halloween fun guide.
It is, and I like on the front where it says compliments of Empire. So the M is the M&M's sweet Empire, the Star Wars Empire. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, then, I don't know about you, but I'm certainly in a chocolate mood at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. There might just be a few bars of chocolate from Halloween hanging around. I'm going to go off and see what I can steal from the kids, I think.
Well, Andy, so what we're going to do for the next episode is we've got the choices here. We could go back to doing another Christmas and then pick a year and get a Christmas episode out, or perhaps it's to do the Empire Strikes Back dream list.
Oh, I think we can get in another couple this side of Christmas, can't we? Let's do Empire Strikes Back.
Right, next one, Empire Strikes Back top 10s, and see if you remember the rules from the last time.
Yes. All vintage, if I remember rightly. I'm gonna play that back to you.
Well then, Andy, it's been a great episode, and I hope our listeners get a lot out of it. And I hope you enjoyed Halloween, and I'll see you in the next one.
Take care, Rich, and everybody out there, may the force be with you.
So thanks for listening to Collecting Tracks. If you want to be part of the action, stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news, visit fanthatracks.com or check out the free Fantha Tracks app through the App Store to follow us on your mobile device. You can reach out to us and send in your listeners' questions by emailing radio@fanthatracks.com. Comment, like and share on any of our social media feeds at Fantha Tracks, and be sure to subscribe, leave a review, preferably a 5-star one, on Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcatcher or smart speaker of choice. And as always, thanks to James Semple for composing the Fantha Tracks intro, Andy Lythe for our Collecting Tracks open music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. Remember to tune in to Good Morning Tatooine, live Sunday evenings at 9 PM UK time, 4 PM Eastern and 1 PM Pacific on Facebook and YouTube. Check out Fantha Tracks Radio Friday evenings at 7 PM UK time for new episodes of The Fantha from Down Under, Planet Leia, Desert Planet Discs, Start Your Engines, Collecting Tracks and Cannon Fodder, and every Tuesday at 7 PM UK time for your weekly episode of Making Tracks.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.